Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life Was Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comu. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and Easthampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the Easthampton Veterans Monuments, located in Easthampton, Massachusetts. So, where are the Veterans Monuments located within Easthampton?
They're fairly easy to find. Most of them, they're very close to the Public Library of Easthampton. And there they have the green, and these memorials or monuments are spread out across that green, very close to the Congregational Church, very much in the downtown area. The only one that is not in that area is a Civil War monument, and that's on the former town hall. So today we're going to talk about the location, but we're also going to talk specifically about World War I, II, and the Korean and Vietnam Wars. And those are very large across this area. And Easthampton was settled very late in the process. It was incorporated as a town very late. In fact, it was the second to the last town incorporated in Hampshire County, and it is now the latest one incorporated, because the other one that was later became part of the Quabbin Reservoir is not around anymore. So it was very late in the process, which means it missed out on any people from Easthampton fighting in the American Revolutionary War. Some men did fight, but they're under Northampton's banner. Okay, so we'll talk about these monuments, and they're very well done. The whole plaza area is very well done with brick, and the whole area is beautiful, of course, like it should be.
And what ways are the World War I veterans honored?
All right, they're honored by a very large double or triple plaque, and what holds them up is a very large granite bench on both the left and right side, and attached through the middle are these three plaques. And so that plaque through the middle says, in honor of those who served in the World War and gave their lives, 1917 and 1918. All right, and if you look at it, there are 20 names on it from people from Easthampton that died during the course of World War I. And they're listed by first and then last name in alphabetical order for you. And there's a mix of French-Canadian, Polish, Irish, and British Yankees throughout them. I'm going to make off those 20 names a list or a grid where I find the burial places for each one of those 20 men. I do that for many communities around the Connecticut River Valley, and I'll do it for Easthampton too. Now, directly below that plaque, in a double plaque, is a Roll of Honor. This means all the men from Easthampton that went off to Europe for World War I. And this is probably 300 names. So it's both a memorial plaque and a Roll of Honor, which is different because you don't memorialize men that came back alive. So it's three different plaques set up very nicely on the first big granite display. And remember, there's going to be 4 displays here.
And really quick, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, for more information or to sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops along each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours and other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. and his tours make for fun, educational, outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, how are the World War II veterans honored?
They're honored in a very similar way as the World War I, with a set of plaques. And the top of that set of plaques says World War II in honor of those who served. These made the supreme sacrifice, 1941 to 5. And then in names, they have a listing of about 55 men's names. These are all men from Easthampton that died during the course of World War I, either in the Pacific or in Europe. All right, now, it has much more than that because it's enormous. What you have are big plaques off to both the left and the right, and also below the one that memorializes those 55 men. And these are a listing of, I would say, maybe 1,000 men from Easthampton that went off to war in World War II and came back alive. So this is a roll of honor. Now, Easthampton can do this because it's small enough that you can get all these men's names on the plaques and then on the stone. Imagine a community like Springfield trying to do that. Even the list of men that died during the course of that war must be very large for Springfield. And so for larger communities, you could not have a roll of honor with each man's name listed. But in the case of Easthampton, you can do that. And it's done very nicely through here. And it's done on multiple plaques. Each one of the 6 military groups of the United States have their insignia up on the top. And it's all embedded onto a granite wall that sweeps around in a concave fashion along this plaza area. So you have a brick plaza, then a granite, and then the plaques embedded into it. The whole for World War II might be up to 40 feet across. That's how gorgeous it is. And it forms very nicely in the same green as the World War I one, and they're positioned across from each other.
And what ways are the Korean and Vietnam vets memorialized?
Okay, they're memorialized not with a Roll of Honor plaque, but only with a memorial plaque for each one of those 2 wars. So there's 2 plaques, and they're put into black granite. And Korea says 1950 to 3, and it has the names of 3 men that died during the course of that war who came from Easthampton. And it says in the bottom, freedom is not free. And it has the name of Private Lawson, Private Lamaru, and Corporal Drew. And they died 1950 and 1953, giving their lives for their country and for the sake of Easthampton too. The Vietnam War one is a very similar shape and color, like granite, 1959-1975. See what we saw, feel what we felt. Has a map of Korea, Vietnam on it in this case. And it has 5 men's names from Easthampton who died during the course of that Vietnam War due to illnesses or injuries acquired during the war. 1967, 68, 69, 69, and 69. Right, it has all the names, private, sergeant, corporal, and then lance corporal. All right, these are very important. They very much honor and memorialize these men who gave up their lives for this. Now, sure, I invite you to go visit and see all of what they have. And remember to walk the perimeter, because the whole perimeter of this is very historic. Churches, schools, libraries, beautiful Victorian homes are around. And if I were you, I'd spend up to an hour in this location, read some of the names, and just get a sense of how much Easthampton has put into this area, and they fully deserve it.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. Now we want to thank our listeners for tuning in, and a thank to our sponsors. And check out a large selection of our other podcasts on his website, as well as on SoundCloud.com. And be sure to stay up to date with new podcasts and videos posted daily. Thank you and hope you join us again.